Hey everyone, it's Ethan Hatsaway from Hatsaway's Nursery. I wanted to talk to you today about a great idea on how you can use Pachysandra ground cover in the landscape. I think it's a great underutilized ground cover plant that not only aesthetically looks really nice, but people don't really think to use it and they don't realize how handy it can come in certain situations. So I want to show you this one bed that I have here. This bed is pretty awkward and difficult to mulch because you'll see there's some nice specimen, a couple of trees in here, some Hinoki cypresses, hydrangea, Japanese white pine, and look at this. This is all Pachysandra ground cover. So you can see there's like a gravel driveway and there's these boulders here that are kind of retaining the land. I'll step back a little bit so you can see it. So see how these boulders kind of hold the land back and it creates like a bed on top there. Well, I wanted there to be a bed there. I didn't want that to just be gravel that goes against the side of the house. I wanted to put a bed on the side of the house, but it needed to be built up and held up with something. So I put in some boulders to make a little bit of a retaining wall, put some trees on top of it, but mulch. You can see in between the cracks of these boulders that, you know, the mulch just kind of washes out. And even if it didn't wash out, it's kind of a hard area to access. You can't really get up there with wheelbarrows. You got to mulch it by hand, pitchfork, what have you. So I came up with the idea of just putting ground cover in here. So I put flats of Pachysandra up on here, separated them into chunks. Did this about maybe 3-4 years ago, and look at it just taking off. I mean, I haven't even mulched this bed in a year or so at least, because there's no point now. You know, the ground cover is just taking over. It's doing its job. But I think it's just a great underutilized plant, Pachysandra ground cover. So these are just little clumps, little pieces of it that just spread and take over and cover the ground. And I don't think a lot of people think to use this enough. I think most landscapes can benefit from this. If you got a steep sloped bed where there's a lot of washout, if you don't want to mulch a bed, just plant a bunch of ground cover in it. If you don't want to do crushed stone, what have you for a covering underneath the plants, you can see that the plants in this bed are doing perfectly fine. The ground cover is not robbing and stealing nutrients from them. You know, they're doing okay, and it just covers around everywhere. So this is an example of like what a flat of Pachysandra would look like. So it comes in a tray like this. We sell it at our nursery, and if you pull this up, you can see all the roots. You can break those apart into pieces. There's gonna be like 50 plants in one of these little flats. So you technically could break this apart into 50 little pieces. I usually break them apart into like just chunks, so that way it's like a grouping of 5, 6, 7 plants when I pop them in the ground. I don't necessarily plant the little plugs, but you could. But that's what I did here. I just took a few flats of these, and within a few years, look at what that multiplied to. So now I have Pachysandra covering the ground on this bed. I don't have to mulch it anymore. I don't have to spread crushed stone. I did when I first landscaped it, but now that everything's starting to fill in, it takes care of itself. So that's kind of my idea, my tip of the day, a way how to utilize Pachysandra ground cover in hard to access beds that wash out, you know, just another option. All right, have a great day, guys. Hope that was helpful.